Even if it hurts, keep going. In a remote monastery high in the southern mountains, there lived a young monk named Ren. He was known for his gentle heart and a laugh as clear as the spring water. But life tested him deeply when his master, the Venerable Shone, fell gravely ill. For weeks, Ren cared for him, bringing herbal teas, tending to his fevered body, and staying awake through the nights by his side. Then one morning, Master Shone closed his eyes forever. Ren felt something inside him break. He sat silently before his master's grave for days, neither speaking nor eating. When the temple abbot approached and offered him some rice, Ren whispered, "How do you walk when the ground beneath you disappears?" The abbot didn't answer. Instead, he quietly pointed toward the stone path leading down the valley and said, "You'll only know by walking it." And so, trembling inside but with steady eyes, Ren took his first step forward. The path wound down through towering pines, and with every step Ren took, it felt like he was walking on invisible embers. It wasn't his body that hurt, it was his soul. The world kept turning, but for him, everything seemed frozen in that moment of farewell. As he walked, a lesson from his master came back to him. Pain is a sign that the heart is alive. Suffering, however, is resisting that life. Ren hadn't understood this then. Now, with tears welling in his eyes, he was beginning to grasp its meaning. On the third day of his journey, he stumbled over a rock and fell to his knees. He didn't get up right away. He screamed. He hit the ground. And then he simply breathed. "Even if it hurts," he whispered, clutching the earth with his fists, "I will keep going." The wind through the trees seemed to answer him with a soft whisper, as if the world itself was listening. Ren kept walking until he reached a small village at the foot of the mountain. The villagers looked at him with curiosity. His robe was dirty, his face thin, and his eyes lost in a kind of quiet contemplation that seemed not of this world. An old woman offered him a bowl of warm rice. Ren bowed in gratitude but could barely swallow a bite. "Your eyes carry the shadow of a farewell," the woman said softly. "Who have you left behind?" Ren lowered his gaze. "The one who taught me how to see." The woman nodded silently, then added, "When my husband died, I thought the pain would break me. But every morning, as I cooked the rice, I felt him near. Love doesn't disappear, it just changes form." Ren closed his eyes for a moment. The warmth of the rice in his hands reminded him of Shone's gentle touch. He understood then that walking forward wasn't about forgetting, it was about honoring. And that night, for the first time since his master's death, he slept deeply beneath the open sky. At dawn, Ren said goodbye to the village and resumed his journey. The sun peeked shyly over the hills, and with each step, the weight on his chest grew a little lighter. He reached a rushing river. The bridge was gone. Many would have turned back, but Ren sat down by the water's edge, watching the river's patient flow. He remembered another lesson from his master. When you can't move forward, observe. Life also moves silently. He waited for hours. At sunset, a farmer appeared with a donkey and some planks of wood. Seeing Ren, he smiled and said, "Help me build it. I've been wanting to cross for months, but I can't do it alone." Without a word, Ren stood and together they carefully placed each plank. The work took all night, but by dawn, the bridge was finished. The farmer crossed first, then turned to Ren and said, "Thank you for not giving up. Sometimes moving forward isn't just for yourself." Ren watched him disappear into the distance. In that moment he understood. His pain wasn't a barrier, but part of the bridge others would cross too. Ren's journey took him beyond the forests, to villages where people had never seen a monk before. Some welcomed him with respect, Others eyed him with suspicion. One afternoon, while meditating beneath a tree, a boy approached him. His eyes were restless, and his hands were dirty with mud. "Why are you alone?" the boy asked bluntly. Ren slowly opened his eyes. "Sometimes we walk alone to remember that we're not really alone." The boy frowned. "That doesn't make any sense." Ren smiled. "At first, I didn't think so either." The boy sat down beside him, and they fell into silence. The wind blew gently, and leaves drifted down like thoughts that no longer hurt. After a while, the boy said, "My mother died last year. Sometimes it hurts so much I don't want to play." Ren looked at him with kindness. "I lost someone too, but I learned this. If you keep walking, even when it hurts, the pain changes. Into what? Compassion, courage, a path forward." The boy nodded slowly. He said no more, but when he stood up, his steps were lighter. As the seasons passed, Ren became a quiet traveler. Wherever he went, he didn't offer sermons, only his presence. He listened more than he spoke, and his company brought a calmness, as if the stones along the path recognized one of their own in him. One night, during a fierce storm, he found shelter in an old abandoned cabin. The wind battered the windows as if trying to tear them down. Ren lit a small lamp and wrapped himself in his cloak. There, amid the creaking wood and the rain, he felt the emptiness. Not an emptiness of sorrow, but an open, clear, and deep space. It was as if all the pain he had carried had transformed into a vast inner room where he could now sit in peace. He closed his eyes, and in the darkness of his mind, he saw his master shone, not as a memory, but as a silence looking at him with tenderness. "Master," Ren whispered, "it still hurts, but I no longer run from that pain." And in his chest, the pain curled inward like a flower closing at night, not to wither, but to bloom again with the sun. As the seasons passed, Ren became a quiet traveler. Wherever he went, he didn't offer sermons, only his presence. He listened more than he spoke, and his company brought a calmness, as if the stones along the path recognized one of their own in him. One night, during a fierce storm, he found shelter in an old abandoned cabin. The wind battered the windows as if trying to tear them down. Ren lit a small lamp and wrapped himself in his cloak. There, amid the creaking wood and the rain, he felt the emptiness. Not an emptiness of sorrow, but an open, clear, and deep space. It was as if all the pain he had carried had transformed into a vast inner room where he could now sit in peace. He closed his eyes, and in the darkness of his mind, he saw his master shone, not as a memory, but as a silence looking at him with tenderness. "Master," Ren whispered, "it still hurts, but I no longer run from that pain." And in his chest, the pain curled inward like a flower closing at night, not to wither, but to bloom again with the sun. Over the years, Ren became a teacher. He didn't use bells or long speeches. His teaching was in gentle gestures, shared silence, and tea served with care. When young monks came to him with broken hearts, he didn't offer immediate comfort. Instead, he invited them to walk with him at dawn, silently, step by step through the misty fields. Some cried, others grew angry, and all at some point asked him, "How do you keep going when everything hurts?" And Ren would reply with the same words that once saved his own soul. "Even when it hurts, keep going. Not because you have to be strong, but because the path itself will heal you." He never said more. He just kept walking, and those who followed him slowly began to heal too. In the end, it wasn't the absence of pain that brought Ren peace, but its transformation. He learned that a wound is a door, not a wall, and the wisest step is always the next one.